Welcome, so welcome. Sorry we're late, but you know, the technical side of things doesn't always work. And to be fair, we've never done this before. You normally see us on a Zoom, and we are all safe in our own houses and broadcasting very simply. But tonight we are here at Manchester Central, and we are at the Global Home Education Conference. And you have with me Alison Sawa. Hello.
Randall Hardy.
Michelle Zahir.
So we're very grateful that we can do this and broadcast and tell you a little bit about what's been happening at the conference. And we do also have some people in the room, and hopefully we have somebody monitoring comments on this. So because I'm not really able to sort that out, so we will try and keep track of any comments on the group. So, Randall, do you want to give us some idea of what the conference has been like so far?
Thank you, Juliet. It's been very interesting. The one thing is there's so much going on, no one person can catch up with it all. I've been in the advocacy track most of the day. I did slip into the research one later. So those are the two tracks I know about. I was in one of them because I was speaking, but so was Alison. And Juliet, you were speaking in another one?
Yes.
And we've had a couple of plenaries.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just checking that we're adding all the new members.
Yes, I've just done that.
Thank you, Alison.
Right.
Yeah. So, which sessions did you sit in today?
I sat in the first three advocacy tract,
Yeah.
and well, I spoke in one of those, and I went into the final one of the research tract, which was the researchers talking about their journey and how their research is actually influenced by the atmosphere and culture in the country where they're doing the research. So one interesting thing I picked up was the guy, and I can't remember his name, but who's from France, said that in France, historically, home education has been coming from those on the left of worldviews, and that's affected the type of research they can do, where in America and England to some extent, certainly America, most of the home educators originally were more on the right of politics. Were more on the right of politics, and that affects as well. So sometimes we actually forget that it's the cultural situation that makes the difference.
Okay, well that's great. And Michelle, what have you been getting from today?
Well, I've been to various different bits because we're also exhibiting, so I've been in the exhibit hall. I've also been in one of the research track ones, and I found that very interesting and very optimistic that there's research sort of imminently coming out and being done about the outcomes on transition from home education to university, and on looking back at people moving into employment and the difficulties and the different sorts of challenges around employment when you've been home educated, and particularly things around like your moral belief compass and it being a lot harder to take on roles that require you to follow maybe just what someone wants you to do as opposed to what you may actually believe in. So I found that quite interesting. My son's also here with me, so he's been popping into some of the leadership organisation ones and then feeding back to me on them, and he's given me little tidbits about what people are saying about different things in different countries, and he's finding that really, really interesting, and I know he'll be doing lots more research about how it works in other countries, because that's how he's finding that very, very interesting particularly.
Okay, well that's great. And I've been in the one plenary session, which gosh, it seems like ages ago, it was quite early today. I can't remember which one it was. I'm sorry, it sounds terrible, but I've been very busy.
We did start at 8 o'clock this morning.
Some of us started at 8 o'clock this morning. Some of us did. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to speak today in the national update, so I gave a little update. It was all the European countries, and I gave an update on things in the UK, and then I had to run across to another talk on socialisation. And that had about 5 panelists, one of them a young woman who was home educated, so that was really great to hear from her. And we just had a wonderful time meeting so many people. I think that's been the real thing, is just so many countries represented, and hearing from so many their different experiences, hearing the story about a young person, a home educator in Kenya, who, even though she earns like really, really low wages, she still manages to home educate and to educate herself at the same time. And that was just really quite a story, I thought, very, very touching. Alison, what do you want to say that you've taken away from today?
Well, I spoke at 8 o'clock this morning as well. We're home educators. We don't normally get up before 10, do we? It was quite a challenge. And this morning I was speaking about the thing. So I was on with a member of Parliament from Brazil, another one from Mexico, and another one from can't remember, somewhere else. But anyway, they were talking about this legislation they're trying to get through to support home education, and I was talking about general barriers in the heads, in the hearts and the minds of politicians, where their misconceptions come from, and the hill we have to climb in order to get the points across, so that they don't believe that home education is substandard, that it's dangerous, that it's terrible. Yeah, basically.
The other thing is, I enjoyed, we've had a couple of people we've had somebody from the DfE come along today. We had somebody from the local authority in Manchester.
Yep.
And legislator from Ghana.
One from Ghana, one from Mexico. We've had legislators from all over the place, and also Juliet and I are in the European Committee of the Global Home Education Exchange, and we've had our colleagues who were hilarious today, and I'm going to invite one of them up to the stage in a minute, if that's okay. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, well, actually, perhaps that would be a good idea. Does anyone want to come and say hello and say where you're from? Okay, we're going to bring in Debbie, and Debbie is from Switzerland, joining us, so you need to make sure we can see you, Debbie. Okay, so Debbie, would you like to just tell us a little bit about what you're enjoying about the conference, and what your takeaway has been from today?
Well, to be honest, I've been ridiculously proud of my daughter, because she came and she was talking. Well, she was the young lady that you were mentioning before. So it was funny, because at dinner she said to me, "Mom, I'm in trouble, I really need public speaking." I'm going to have to do this more. So yeah, that just confirmed to me that, the whole socializing thing, we hide them in basements all you want, and just come out and talk all the time. And to me, every time I come to these conferences, what I really enjoy is meeting other homeschoolers from different cultures. It's true that the Kenyan stories that we heard over the last few days have been inspiring. Especially from somebody like me who comes from a country where home education is relatively easy compared to some of the people that have been sharing. So I'm particularly grateful for living where I live, and I'm always inspired, even though I'm very inspired by hearing all of you guys talk, because it makes me realize we're part of a really great community. And when I see what's going on in the world today with mental health and all these young people who have a hard time homeschooling, not homeschooling, being in school and finding who they should be as young kids. When I meet all the young homeschoolers that we have here over the last few days, I'm still encouraged that this is probably the way forward in such a fast-changing world. I really believe that homeschooling is probably a big solution that politicians are just afraid.
Yes, we do. And I think the other thing that I've enjoyed is seeing a lot of the British home educators that have come along as well. So we've got educational freedom. We've actually been helping quite a lot. Michelle, what have you been doing at the conference?
Well, we've been helping with some of the early morning registrations, and actually it's been really nice to meet families who we hadn't known were coming, who've actually come up and have used our service before, and that was quite nice. We've engaged with people who've come who hadn't realised what there is available in the UK to help home educators. Oh, sorry, I'm not used to using microphones because I've got such a loud mouth normally. Not used to having to have them. And it's been really good to speak to researchers from around the world and to actually engage with so many people from so many different backgrounds, because we do at the moment have it quite free for home education here, and it's very interesting to reflect on the representatives from countries where home education isn't a free option, and that's been really interesting to listen to, and also to help frame for our future challenges, because obviously we're already aware the political climate is changing for us here in the UK with the change of government. So it's been quite useful to take what people are saying to help us then come up with potential strategies in the future.
Yes, I think that also there's a lot, probably for those of us from the UK, where we do have fairly good legislation in place at this time, to encourage some of those from countries like Slovenia and Germany and other countries where it's really difficult to home educate. But the great thing is that's why we come together. We come together for sharing of thoughts, for exchanging, and also hearing how other people do things, because it's really different. The way the Americans are home educating, you get a lot of very different approaches to what you get here, to what you get in other countries in Europe, Latin America. And actually we've got so many countries represented. Randall, what countries have you kind of come across today?
Mexico, Brazil, as you said, America, quite a few, couple of people from Israel, somebody from France.
But Ukraine?
Oh, Ukraine, that was very interesting.
Yeah,
a woman who's home educating more or less on the battlefront in Ukraine, just a bit back from it, but very much. She showed a map and there was big red dots, I presume meaning Russian army, not that far from where they live. So and
Philippines with got
Awesome.
and Liz Gatonga from Kenya, and Jeffrey Godfrey from Uganda. Come on, Clarissa, you know everyone. China, Canada, obviously, Brazil, Finland, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and there's such a list of countries. And if you go onto the program, you can actually see, if you go onto the website, you can actually see where all the speakers are from. It's a lot of countries. And I think it's really encouraging. One of the common themes is that home education is growing everywhere, isn't it?
It really is a common theme that, particularly post-pandemic, the numbers have grown, and that is being reported everywhere. And of course, the authorities are worried about it.
Yeah.
But what we did do, certainly in the last plenary and a bit of the research session I went to, they were actually showing how it really is of benefit to the children to be educated within the family.
Yeah.
And that is one message that I hope the people from the Department for Education and also the local authority people take away with them. That there is a lot of real evidence that home education, family-based learning, is far better for children on average than school education. I loved what the lady said from Ukraine, or what one of her sons said, made me smile. They had to come to Britain for about 15 months after war broke out, and she decided she was under so much pressure she couldn't continue home educating, so she put them in school. And it wasn't long before the younger boy said, "Mum, school's like prison." I think that really is, for a lot of kids, what it's like.
Yeah.
I used to do youth work, I used to do detached youth work here in the middle of Manchester back in the 1970s, and I went prison visiting. And I picked up what the atmosphere is in. And sometime later, I went round a closed prison on a tour. And first thing we did, the ex-guards lined us up and then moved us around in the lines. And he said, "Why did I do that?" And I said, "Sir, because you can." And he smiled, and he knew I knew. And in a sense, that is a lot of what happens in schools.
Yeah.
It is just to show authority, to
Thank
keep
you.
children in line. And I thought that comment from that child really summed things up, that home education nurtures the child. The home education looks for the child to mature as is best for them. Schooling squeezes people into moulds.
Well, I think one of the things that's come out in quite a few people's talks is that through home education, a child is getting love. So you do it out of love. You're not doing, whereas in a school setting, there's no guarantee your teacher will, the child's teacher will love them enough to take care of them and make sure they're okay. But I wanted to actually hand over to you, David, because I wanted you to tell us a little bit about the theme of the conference.
Home education works. I wanted to bounce back on what you said because it helps the kids, but I think ultimately it helps society as well. Because a strong adult that has a good, well-rounded education and that has a sense of self-worth is going to be a better active human adult. It's going to bring things to society, and I believe a multicultural society can only happen if we have strong families.
I totally agree. I'm not sure politicians do.
That's fine, I'm not a politician, I don't care. But to me, this idea that families are taking kids away from society is very dangerous. And we're living that a little bit right now when you see what happened in France a couple of years back. This idea that you have to have everybody in the same place to learn the same things. And we realize that most parents, I mean, I would argue all parents, have really at heart to give the best to their kids.
Yeah.
And we don't homeschool because it's fun, we don't homeschool because, it's cheap or we have nothing else to do with our lives. We do it because we really want to invest in our kids. And when I hear some of the young kids, the graduates that are talking here, they are so invested socially, politically. They are such well-rounded adults, and I think that the world really needs that. So yeah, I think that we really need those kids actually to speak up because they are our best advocates.
But what we're saying about the theme, home education works, is actually what you're describing now.
Yes, well, I'm a mom of 4 neurotypical kids that are all, I believe, quite happy. Baby just got accepted in a grade school in Switzerland. My boy is doing great. My daughter is at university. She gets to plant trees and walk around the house and get an education and sleep, and be an amazing dentist and drive them all crazy. And I think that's what kids should be doing. And I'm afraid that today in the world they spend so much time at school, so much time going from home to school to home, do homework. They don't have time to play. They don't have time to be bored. And I think we need to seriously rethink how we, as a society, see education.
Yeah. Well, the theme of home education works is also it's home education works for the child, home education works for the family, home education works for the community, it works for the nation, and it works for the world. And I think we're seeing the way society is going technologically, and we need something different. We have to have people who are out-of-the-box thinkers, diverse thinkers, creative thinkers to come up with creative solutions for the things that we're dealing with today, and that is not happening. And, you would think after the pandemic, with the different ways we've discovered of presenting education, that they would take something away from that, because some kids really enjoyed being at home, even if they were doing online classes, they really enjoyed it. But now when they're back in school, they've got maybe mental health issues, depressed, whatever, And, you know, we're missing a trick because that child would be better off continuing in a way that works for them. And I think this is what more and more parents are realizing, which is what's driving this increase in home education. But Michelle, sorry, I know I can see you typing away there. I wanted you to just explain. So there are actually, if you are anywhere near Manchester, you can actually come along tomorrow and get a day ticket. It is £25 single. I think if it's a family, for a family, so if it's you and your spouse and your partner and children, you can attend for £50 for the day, and you will not regret it. It's really the most wonderful atmosphere here, very friendly. We're having a great time. Are you sharing that, Michelle? I think you had a QR code or something.
Yeah, I'll add that in a second, because I was going to build on what Debbie said, because actually tomorrow we have got the home education graduates workbook. If people want to actually come and hear from people who have come the other side of home education and are now successfully living their lives. So that's something to come down and see. And you can get the tickets via the QR code, or you can come here and register in the morning for the day.
Yeah, so Randall, I mean, you're looking at political stuff. I'm guessing you can't let the opportunity to go by to talk a little bit of politics. Am I right?
You're right, Julia. We're in the wake of last week's election result. This week we've had the list of DfE Department for Education ministers announced. There's a very good article on Schools Week. It's got a cut and paste of 6 people on it against a slightly red background of the Department for Education building, and it gives you a list of what jobs they're going to be doing. We know Bridget Phillipson is the Secretary of State for Education. There seems to be more than usual because she's also the Minister for Women and Equalities, and Annalise Dodds is also a minister in that area, and she's been moved into the Department for Education, but she doesn't seem to be having an education brief. The other ministers are Catherine McKinnell, who stood next to Bridget Phillipson, who sat next to her during the debate in early February, I think it was, which was the Opposition Day debate on bringing in a children not in school register. She doesn't seem to have any. What the Schools Week article does, and perhaps somebody can post the link into the group, it's already there, but into the chat here, it gives you rumoured jobs. From talking to somebody today, I can't say too much, but I think what happened, somebody at the Department of Education was in a discussion or a meeting with the ministers, got told what they would be doing, and leaked it to Schools Week. That seems to be what happened. So it hasn't been confirmed, but McKinnell hasn't got any jobs. Stephen Morgan, who was previously a shadow junior minister in education, he's an MP from Portsmouth, so some home educators in that area may already know him. And included in his list of responsibilities is attendance, including a register of children not in school. So Labour, even though it wasn't in their manifesto, it seems they're signalling they're going to go ahead with it under the attendance. Now that's rather silly, as we know, because they got told during that debate I mentioned that it's nothing to do with attendance. It's to do with children not in school. And children who are not turning up at school are on a school register. So we won't go there. But the other one, there's another junior minister called Janet Davey, who's Minister for Children and Families, and part of her brief is children's number. That's all it's down for. That is a single, unique, identifying number given to every child. As somebody said in a meeting the other day, they're wanting to brand our children. And branding is a mark of ownership. And if you listen to Bridget Phillipson talk, one of her favourite phrases is, we must do this for our children. And such a thing, for our children.
You should have given birth to them then.
She hasn't given birth to them, Juliet. You're exactly right. It is corporate ownership of children. And this is where it's going. And personally, I think this unique identifier, one, it's certainly taking us back to Contact Point, which was a failed database brought in by Tony Blair's government. It's because Phillipson says we'll make it work with artificial intelligence, I'm calling it Contact Point on steroids. And that is what it's going to be like. And she's doing that. Just the one other person to mention is Baroness Jackie Smith, as she will become soon, is going to be the Minister in the Lords, who's going to be in place of Baroness Barron, who many of you from England will know. She's not got anything, she hasn't got the same brief as Barron, so she'll have nothing directly to do with home education, apart from any bills that go through the Lords will be held by her. But I think the thing we need to talk about is, this is a really good time now, starting next week. You've got lots of new MPs, probably in your area. They'll know nothing about home education, and we need to be talking about how to connect with them.
Yeah.
I've said enough for now.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into it too much, but there has been some mention of what's going to be in the King's speech. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So some of these things weren't mentioned in the King's speech, but that remains to be seen. And well, he hasn't given it yet. This is just what we've been told is going to be in it, but we'll see. For those who don't know, they tend to say things in the King's speech that they're going to be acting on in the next year.
In this term of Parliament, it's what their priorities are going to be. They don't always, they aren't limited to what they say. So if they want to bring in something later, and it's only headlines. So when Prince Charles gave the speech for his mother, the one she missed, he announced measures in education, but it did not mention registers for children not in school. But as we all know, the schools bill that came out the next day had them in it. So not everything will be in there.
Yeah. So, Michelle, what other things would you like to talk about? Is there anything you want to share about the conference? Talk about what's on tomorrow, maybe?
Yeah, well, I think the other thing I completely forgot to mention is there was a dedicated teen track. So where people are between 13 and 18, they could actually sign up to a dedicated programme just for them to learn more about sort of interactions on how different countries interact with each other and how to sort of make good decisions and things like that. So I'd completely forgotten about that.
Nice. So you can bring your teams along, and we may be joined by another guest. Shall I just see? It's Alicia, right? Yeah. So Alicia got to share a little bit today in the panel on socialisation. And Alicia's from Switzerland, who we had her mum on just before. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about how you find your conference, and tell us a bit about yourself, whatever you fancy. We're live on Facebook, and you get the mic.
Thank you. So, well, the conference was great. I love it. It was the first time for me, like, doing the public speech in English, so it was a bit stressful. It was okay. And about me, so I just graduated, and I'm gonna start medicine in August, and I do a lot of sports and a lot of art. Yeah, a lot of art too. And, I don't know what to say.
Is that good? Crystal?
Yeah.
Hello.
Just hold it closer.
Closer. All right.
Eat it.
Love it.
Anyway.
So
you were home educated most of your life, right?
Yeah, almost all my life.
Yeah.
I only did 2 first years in school, and then I started to tell my mom, you lied to me because I learned nothing in school, and you told me that I will learn things, and actually not learning anything, and it's boring, and so she, of course, there's some stuff in between, but she took me out of school, and it works for me. Well, it still works well.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, what is so important for the parent to listen to the child,
Yeah.
and to recognize, because it also validates what you're feeling, right? Yeah? Do you have anything else you want to share?
Right now, I don't know. No, not really.
Well, thanks for joining us up here. And she did really well on the stage today, and I know her mum's very proud of her, so well done to Alicia. I also wondered if Rose wants to come and say hello for a bit. She says no. Anyway, if you want to, you can rejoin your mum, and we'll get Alison back up here for a bit. Or if anyone else wants to come and pop in and say hello.
Yes, we have a volunteer.
Yeah. So this is, we're bringing in Jen Hodge from Rama Life. Jen, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yes, so I am a home educator of 16 years. I've got 4 young people. My oldest is 16 and just about to go to college to do performing arts. So we've had a really exciting homemade journey, which is still going on for my younger children. And to be honest, even my older child is going to carry on, because home ed is all the time, not just when she's with us all the time. There'll still be the weekends and the evenings. So I run Rama Life, which is an alternative education provision, but slightly different to maybe the rest of the UK. The majority of young people are actually home educated, so rather than it being mostly young people on school roll who are struggling, we've actually got mostly home ed young people. So it's really exciting that we're getting young people together. They're learning life skills, they're doing functional skills together, and they're also just having a really good time doing things like D&D, outdoor learning, and making funny movies, and just doing all sorts of cool stuff together. So it's when my older ones were younger, I really wanted a space for them to do kind of community learning together. I guess I wanted to create what I wanted school to be. So that's kind of what I've gone on to do. But the main thing I wanted to say is that it can be really, with the Labour government coming back in and everything going on, we can all feel really despondent and worried about what's going to come. But actually I think this is a really powerful time for home education, because as a home educator, when I was a young person at school, I knew that school didn't work. It certainly doesn't work for neurodivergent people, and we're learning that the numbers of neurodivergent young people is far higher than we realise. So actually, what we're seeing now is that it's a huge crisis in school, particularly in secondary education. So you don't have to hunt around to see that young people are in crisis. They're suicidal, they're self-harming, they've got no sense of identity or purpose. There is massive problems, and I get phone calls multiple times a week from families who just don't know what to do. So it's not hidden anymore. When I started home eding, I had to convince people that school didn't work for everybody. We don't need to do that anymore. So it shouldn't be about us kind of defending the idea of not having a school register. We need to bat it back and say, what are you doing about the crisis in schools? What are you doing about SEND? What are you doing about our neurodivergent young people who are actually being discriminated against by our school system? And I think rather than being defensive and trying to defend our rights to not be registered, we need to be batting that back and saying, what are you doing to solve this problem?
Yeah, I think that was also what came out, we were talking about a suitable education today, and sort of saying, well, we do need to also be asking the state politicians, about their offering, You know, not, don't tidy up your own backyard before you come worrying about ours. But what have you been, so you kind of found out about this conference quite late and you managed to get here and everything, and how are you finding it? Just tell me a bit about your experience.
So I haven't been able to access lots today because with work we've got lots happening, so I rushed up this afternoon. So, but what I have gathered from today is how the stories that families are talking about are all so similar, that yes, we're living in different countries and there's different, all our experiences of our kind of societies and cultures are going to be slightly different, but the stories are the same. It's parents talking about children in crisis, children who are unhappy, who are not thriving, and them taking the decision to home educate and how they're creating these amazing childhoods and these amazing humans. And what was really lovely today was hearing someone who I was on a panel with talking about how they're just, children are so lovely that people say you've got such lovely children, and grandparents are like, oh, I can have all your children together, whereas my other grandchildren, I can't have them all in the same room because they're too crazy. But everything, I must say, from, we're a very neurodivergent family, we're all nuts, it's wonderful, it's messy, it's noisy, it's fab. Everybody, all the adults that we know in our life, and we know lots because of the work I do, they just love the kids. They're just like, but your kids are just so nice. I can talk to them, they can have a conversation with me, they're not afraid of me, they've got something to say for themselves. And this is what we need to be showing the world, that okay, maybe the governments don't want home editors because they will be free thinkers and they will come up with new ideas and they won't toe the line, but also these are, as somebody said earlier, these are our healthy adults that will be industry leaders, that will be voices of change, that will solve climate problems, that will create social change. They will produce income, they will produce economy, they will do these incredible things. It's nothing to be afraid of, and it needs to be embraced. Because certainly the cost of a nation of young people who will be reliant on antidepressants and costing the medical system lots and lots and lots of money, who will be out of work, who will be disenfranchised, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that they don't realise the problems they're going to create down the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wondered if Sarah would want to come and join us up here for a bit. I'd love to bring Sarah in. So Sarah's been extremely busy behind the scenes. She's been doing a lot of the organisation here, and I want to bring her in here for a bit because she's really done so much with her and Clarissa. So Clarissa's sitting over there. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what goes on in organising an event like this?
Oh
A
gosh.
lot.
Keep your face in there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so a lot of this is just, so it's a global conference, right? You're trying to get a great representation of just the diversity of the home education community across the globe, and that's like continents and people traveling so far and doing a lot to get this all together. So I think that's, the one thing I like to highlight about conference coordinating like this is that, yes, it's based in the UK. We want to have a good representation of just home education in the UK, but also bringing in all these other perspectives. So, it's been a lot, but it's been really worth it. So.
Yeah. And for you personally, what does it mean to you to see all these people and meet all these people and hear the stories?
So I was home educated all the way through, actually. So I think, my family has been gone for a while before I was born, and I've had the privilege of getting to visit a number of different cultures, and so I think that's, like I've said, that's the most beautiful thing to me is like getting to meet you guys and understand why you guys call it home education and not homeschooling like we do in the States, and understanding like the diversity in Switzerland with different regions and different regulations there. So I think that's just the main thing, is having the global collaboration on this subject that really does matter for the future of education internationally.
And Sarah and Clarissa have done an amazing job. I don't know how they actually kept up with it. It must have been like a constant stream of like 50 emails a minute. And having to keep it, because we've got 4 tracks. So we've got research, advocacy, organisation and leadership, family, and actually found a 5th track, which is the teen track. And every single track has their own set of speakers. Sometimes, most of the time, it's like 4, 5 or more per session. And all of them have to be communicated with and organised and make sure that they're in the right place at the right time. And then all of the sessions also have moderators. And you know, it's just a monumental task. And then you're also working with the venue and you're making sure that the tech is working. You know, it's just, I take my hat off to you, and I think, you know, I don't know if people will hear us here on Facebook, but we'll give them a big round of applause there.
So to say as well, we had a number of people come to the AGX, the Global Home Education Exchange, just volunteer of their time to be track champions, to coordinate all of these different speakers. I think we had over 90 speakers in total for the entire conference. So yeah, so just want to shout out to them because they're volunteering. This is my job, but yeah, they're really giving of their time. So thanks to them.
Well, thanks so much, Sarah. Thanks for joining us up here. Alison, do you want to come back in here for a little bit and then we'll wrap it up because we're going on for nearly an hour now. Well, we started late, I know, but people probably want to go to bed.
Some of us have been up since well before 8, Juliet.
Yeah, 6:30 was...
Yeah, we were up at 6:30, weren't we? Yeah.
And if you want to check what speakers are on and what workshops are still on for tomorrow, if you go onto the website, which the link will be put in, you'll be able to find that. The QR code will be added afterwards because apparently it doesn't allow it to go in the live, so it will be being added afterwards.
Please look out for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still come and join and see what's
And
on
that
tomorrow.
QR code, will it take them to where they can book?
The QR code should go so you can book, but equally you can turn up and register here.
You can register and pay it also, but we would really, really love to see a lot more people come and join us tomorrow. So if you're able to hop in your car and come over, you know, just do it. Just do it. You will not regret it, I guarantee.
Absolutely. So, just a bit of a last word from me.
Sorry, don't hop in your car. The parking in Manchester is ridiculously expensive. Use public transport.
Yeah, definitely. We're wincing here. We do have this regime change in I will call it that, in the UK. We do have a fight on our hands. Don't give up. It's very empowering to come to something like this, to talk to other people who are fighting their own fight in their own countries, to see the similarities, to swap ideas, to make connections that could last for a lifetime. I've certainly at these conferences made friends for a lifetime, and it's just a wonderful place to be, and it will re-energise you and get you fired up, ready for the next stage.
Yeah, I just want to give Rose a shout out who's in, I think you're in Australia, aren't you, Rose? And it's 6 a.m. for her in Australia and she's watching. So I want to give her a shout out and just say thank you those who have joined us. Thank you so much because, you know, we just think it's really good to know what's going on in the home ed world, in the community, you know, wherever you are. And, you know, so we're hoping, you know, that from these relationships that we formed at this conference, that we will have an even stronger global community. Yes, so Rose says she's from Free to Homeschool. If you so you can maybe go.
Just to say a little bit about the really good job Rose did in Queensland. The government there wanted to make all home educators follow the national curriculum, and they gave them about 2 or 3 weeks to respond. And Rose was one of the people who organised the response, and I don't know the latest, but the government decided to pause and think and talk to home educators. So it does show you, wherever you are in the world, stand up, speak up, engage, and give them something to think about.
Yes, and the thing is also that we can stand together and we can encourage one another. You know, if Rose can do that where she is, you know, we need to also become a lot more proactive and take action, not be shy, because this battle is going to take a lot of us all shouting at the same time together. I want to ask Michelle, do you have any last remarks?
We just want to see if someone's got a quick question.
Okay, yeah. Does anyone from the floor have a question? Because we will need to give you the mic so we can hear you. No one? Okay, you're just glad to be here looking at our lovely faces.
We have got a live audience for once, right? We can see their faces, we can hear their voices, and they're not confined to the chat.
Yeah, and it's actually lovely to have that support and everything, and to have the support of GHX to do this live tonight. We're very grateful and extremely thankful for this event, thankful to be here and to just be feeling all the love in the Home Ed community, the global community. So,
one last comment from the research track, very quickly.
Yes, okay.
All the things that you said good home education is good for, somebody put forward an argument that home education is good for the environment. It's not just the no school trips, it's no expensive buildings for the government to build and heat and to staff. It really is.
And to prevent from crumbling.
And to prevent from crumbling, if you know the situation here in Britain. With
Polyester blazers.
and things like that. But I thought that was imaginative thinking, but it's worthwhile. It's another one to the home education is good for.
Great, thank you. And Michelle, do you have any closing comments then?
No, I'm just really enjoying being here and meeting everyone, and I'm hoping to keep building on those relationships, and I'm sure you'll hear more from all of us after the King's speech, when we've had a chance to reflect and help try and come up with strategies, because we will all be calling everyone to arms, I think, pretty soon.
Yeah. Anything from you? I just want to say thank you for all your support over the years. That you know, we started the action group a couple of years ago. Well, 2020 was it?
4 years ago, I was.
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, okay. A couple, 4. Yeah, okay. 4 years ago, I started the action group, and I'm just very grateful to all of you for joining and for your actions so far. And we're going to have to ramp it up a bit in a bit, but let's hope we have a nice coordinated effort and we get there in a reasoned way. It's very important. We've been talking to politicians all day today. Well, I have in my track, and they are very, very, very keen on reasoned evidence talk rather than the shouty stuff. So that's where we need to be coming from. Okay.
That's wonderful. That's a lovely positive note to end on. And just as we end, to say finally that home education works. Good night, everybody.
Bye.